Scene opens, dramatic music swells, and then fades into the background. Have you ever heard of the man who knew Hitler's biggest secret? The man who held the fate of World War II in his hands, only to be ignored? This is the story of Richard Sorge, arguably the greatest spy of the 20th century. A man whose incredible life reads more like a Hollywood thriller than a history book. He was a charismatic German journalist, a decorated war hero from World War I, and the life of every party in 1930s Tokyo. But beneath this charming exterior was a will of steel and a secret identity. He was a master spy for the Soviet Union, codenamed Ramsey. Imagine this. It's the 1930s. The world is a powder keg, and Japan is a rising power, forging an alliance with Nazi Germany. Information from inside this secretive axis is priceless, and who is right there in the heart of it all? Richard Sorge. He managed to become a trusted confidant of the German ambassador in Tokyo, Eugen Ott. Think about that for a second. The Soviets' top spy was best friends with the Nazi ambassador. He didn't just have a source, he practically lived at the source. He attended high-level meetings, read confidential cables, and had unfiltered access to Germany's plans and intentions in the Far East. Sorge wasn't just a charming socialite, he was a meticulous spy master. He built an incredible network of agents, an unlikely group of individuals united against fascism. There was Hatsumi Ozaki, a prominent Japanese journalist and advisor to the Prime Minister, and Yotoku Miyagi, an artist who gathered intelligence on Japanese military movements. Together, they formed a highly effective espionage ring, transmitting invaluable information back to Moscow using a clandestine radio. They were a ghost network operating in plain sight, their loyalty hidden behind respectable careers and social connections. Their most significant intelligence coup, the one that could have changed history, came in early 1941. Sorge obtained concrete proof of Germany's plan to invade the Soviet Union. He didn't just get a rumor, he got the exact date. He sent multiple urgent warnings to Moscow, detailing Operation Barbarossa. He pinpointed the number of German divisions, the invasion corridors, everything. The message was crystal clear. Hitler is coming. But in one of history's most tragic ironies, Stalin refused to believe it. He was convinced it was a British plot to sow discord between Germany and the USSR. He dismissed his best spy's warnings as provocations. On June 22, 1941, millions of Nazi soldiers stormed across the Soviet border, just as Sorge had predicted. The surprise was total. The initial losses for the Red Army were catastrophic. Stalin had ignored the most important piece of intelligence of the entire war. But Sorge's work wasn't done. Even as the Soviet Union reeled from the invasion, his spy ring provided another world-altering piece of information. The question burning in Moscow was, will Japan attack the Soviet Union from the east, forcing a devastating two-front war? The pressure was immense. Stalin needed to know if he could move his elite Siberian divisions west to defend Moscow. Sorge and his network went into overdrive. Through their high-level contacts, they confirmed that Japan's Imperial High Command had decided to strike south, towards Southeast Asia and the Pacific, targeting the United States and Britain, rather than north into Siberia. Sorge transmitted this crucial intelligence back to Moscow. This time, Stalin listened. This single piece of information allowed him to confidently transfer his battle-hardened troops from the Far East. These fresh, well-equipped Siberian divisions arrived just in time to spearhead the counteroffensive that saved Moscow in the winter of 1941, a critical turning point in the war. Richard Sorge, the spy Stalin had ignored, had just saved his capital. But for Sorge and his team, the net was closing in. Operating for years under the nose of the notoriously efficient Japanese secret police, the Kempeitai, was a dangerous game. A small mistake, a moment of carelessness, led the authorities to a minor member of the ring. Under intense interrogation, the trail slowly but surely led back to the core group. In October 1941, just as his intelligence was helping save Moscow, Richard Sorge was arrested. The charismatic journalist, the toast of Tokyo's diplomatic scene, was unmasked. The Japanese were stunned. The Germans were humiliated. How could this seemingly patriotic German national be a Soviet agent? Sorge's confession was as remarkable as his life. He laid out his entire operation, not to beg for his life, but to demonstrate the scale of his success. He was proud of his work, a committed communist who believed he was fighting to save the world from fascism. He and his key associate, Hotsumi Ozaki, were tried and sentenced to death. On November 7, 1944, the anniversary of the Bolshevik Revolution, Richard Sorge was executed by hanging. He faced his end with the same courage he had shown throughout his life. For decades, his story remained a secret. The Soviet Union, who he had served so faithfully, disavowed him. They couldn't admit that they had ignored his warning about Barbarossa, nor could they acknowledge the existence of such a high-level spy. He was a ghost, a hero nobody knew. It wasn't until 1964, 20 years after his death, that the truth finally came out. The Kremlin, under new leadership, officially recognized him. They posthumously declared him a hero of the Soviet Union, the nation's highest honor. Streets were named after him, and stamps were issued with his portrait. The spy who was ignored and abandoned in his final moments was finally celebrated as the legend he was. Richard Sorge's story is a powerful lesson in conviction, sacrifice, and the strange twists of history. He was a man who played the most dangerous game imaginable and won, providing intelligence that shifted the course of World War II. He warned of the storm, and when he was ignored, he provided the key to surviving it. A true mastermind who operated in the shadows, his legacy reminds us that sometimes the most important battles are fought not on the front lines, but with secrets and whispers. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey into the life of a master spy. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more deep dives into the hidden corners of history. We've got so many more stories to tell. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.